The metaphysical aspect, for Mike, this is also the power of GPMS, right? When it takes away that stress level of the financial system and everyone knows they don't have to worry into the future. So you don't have that negative stress projected into the future, creating reality with that. So are we on here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see what it does. It absolutely, that creates the paradigm shift in, let's say, the 5D analogy of what occurs upon the planet. So it is the fifth dimensional state of being where everyone is essentially free and more in harmony as well. And as a course of changing the environment, the energetic environment, it also sets off, that everyone is all more or less instantly healed as well. Because again, that stress is the 99% the factor of all sickness and disease. That's where it begins from. So you can see the benefits as well with that respect, but I believe you already know that. Mike, you know what I just wish to say, when we look at the cause, the main cause of all crime upon the planet, it's caused essentially by a lack when you go right to the stem of it. And by providing money as well, it eliminates, because most of the law or most of the crime upon the planet, 99%, is created because of how the money in the capitalistic system is, let's say, distributed and all of that with it, without coming to the words. But the point I wish to make, by making money available to everyone, again, you make them happy, you eliminate crime with it. So then also, law does not need to be complex. And this is why we have it simple. It may be all that you need, just that reminder of the guidelines, what was on the website of the actual individual rights. Because once they have everything, there is nothing to fight for. There is no depression that wants to make them a drug addict anymore. And also, what you're doing is actually eliminating the drug supported by the governments, if you will. They are actually funding the biggest percentage of that, especially with the synthetic drugs. And we know the opium in the cocaine. Having said that, with all of the technology and expertise that any government crime agency has, realistically, there should not be any crime upon the planet. But where there is so much with the drugs, it tells you, simply that no, they condone it, and it's a part of what they want to do. Because in actuality, upon the planet, it was never about money, Michael. It's about the energy and causing the fear, as you know, with the metaphysics and the lower vibrational energy. Because the truth is, the actual evil that is upon the planet, they cannot exist in the higher frequencies, and they know this. So their full agenda, they use money as the tool to control and suppress humanity into the fear spectrum. So this is why GPMS flips the table on the evil and uses money for the good tool to raise humanity out of that full enslavement. So with that, your crime rate, I like to say that upon inception, your crime rate goes perhaps to zero, because the cause of all crime, more or less, is money. It's at the root of it. So, and because of these reasons as well, it's why we kept, the law simplified. Do we really wish to go into complexity? Do you wish to begin to restrict? No, because once you go down that path, then you keep going that way, and you would go back to something that is here already. So you keep it as open, unrestricted, then it's free flow, as you know, for everyone. Everyone's using their ingenuity, their creativity in a different, harmonious way. There's nothing left to fight for. There is no justification for any to fight. And also, the energetic environment, once you have this upward shift in this dimensional shift in consciousness, you don't even have, let's say, within the family units, you don't have spice, uh, or you don't have spats between the masculine and the feminine anymore. The pressure has all been taken off of them. If there's some relationships, let's say, that were not working, at least you leave on amicable terms, because every individual, there is no more palimony or alimony. There is no need for that and splitting things up. And, so a simple remedy is the children that are involved, they all have their own money. The feminine, the masculine is not condemned to paying palimony and to be the slave for 20 years, in the old way. So that is also eradicated. He is set free. So you eliminate the animosity that the old system had designed in these cases to break up the family unit. So you see, you have the bonding of the family unit coming back together.
Mm. I was just going to say, just a very quick question there, Rick. I mean, I agree 100% with everything you're saying and about the crime being virtually eliminated largely, obviously, upon inception with the raise of the consciousness of vibration and just our being, people's inner standing of what we are and our being, all of these things combined. But I think one of the questions that comes up or is in the consciousness of people and is a preventative thing is often people think, oh, well, what about the psychopaths? And I know that obviously from a vibration point of view, you could say that, well, those people
Well,
who low vibration, they might not be here. We can talk about rehabilitation and all that sort of stuff as well. But
well, let's look at what would occur. Let's say if we have 100 million signed up to GPMS, at that time, it's worldwide, but it's a universal nation that has all of the solutions. So, having said this, once again, you're going to have ones oriented. They now have something that is actual, it's not a hope. So, they have the direction towards that, and they are going to be excited, and their focus is going to be towards that. So, again, you could say we don't need 80 or 90% of the world population. We only need that small percentage that is coming together and presenting this present to all of humanity. So, and by doing this, there are, there is no obstacles. A lot of these are eliminated, and I don't even wish to entertain to give the remedy to them, because through the course, this will go so quick that these things don't even present themselves. They're eliminated because the focus is changed towards this end goal. So I don't energize or spend time on ones that are reluctant to look at it or are rejecting it. We need to put our focus on the ones that are open to it, as I said before, because we need to solidify and concrete that group, because that group is the ones that are able to get it, and they will be the peer, if you will, for the rest of humanity. So we need to put in the hundredth monkey effect as well on the micro, proportionated to the macro worldwide, because that factor is a real factor and it does kick in here. So again, just by having all number combined, it does create that paradigm shift as well. So that's why, that's another reason why we don't detail things so much,
yeah,
Mike, with it.
I would say just the point of view from knowing, with my experience, I'm still very much amongst people that are, not anywhere near us in terms of their level of consciousness. I would say, broadly speaking, right? And so what I do have a very strong sense of is that actually even the ones that are asleep, that they would actually fight tooth and nail to say that, you know, the governments aren't, you know, being nefarious, and they're even sort of the elites, they don't want to acknowledge that they're being nefarious. They might, you know, say from my mother's point of view, even she could say that she knows that the scene, for example, was you know, tested, you know, everyone was being tested like guinea pigs, and it was the wrong thing, and all the rest of it. And you know, she can't deny that now, but she still. I think there's a sense, a deep sense in a lot of ones that they actually are concerned that obviously the people who are actually running the show, the cabal, the elite, you know, are actually psychopaths, and so they're not going to allow it. And even on a kind of in Africa, like, you know, from my work that I'm doing with Wanderer and some of the ones that he's introduced me to, not that I've had them directly say to me any of the ones that he's connected to me that, you know, the governments won't allow it, but Wanderers has shared that with me that again, a lot of the people he would speak to would be kind of that mindset that they can't yet see it. Now that's partially down to the numbers, as you know, and you know, again, time obviously will obviously have an effect on that with the numbers and everything.
It does. What we're playing here with is consciousness, and a collective consciousness does change how people think overnight. This is how the awakening occurred in the first place. Everyone was living the lie and they were oblivious to it, but boom, they woke up. So we have, you know, this factor that it is at a certain point of creating that collective unity that it ripples outwards in the rest, and we don't have to sell it to them. We need to keep the focus on this unity, and as a byproduct of creating this, and organically, they constantly raise in consciousness to a level where they're more readily able to accept it. So this is because we're working with energy and metaphysics and consciousness here. This is a whole brand new game that is the omnipotent power. And this is what we use. So we focus, don't expend your energy again on ones that are rejecting it, because that simply means their soul is not ready for it yet, and they're not one to be a part of this unity. We keep creating, we keep connecting, and the ones that are part of this unity, and that's what does it for us. And we don't need the big numbers. And again, I know this, and uh, you know what we can do, Mike, as well. If you wanted to know a little bit more about that's what I believe you said, or even Dan, in the beginning, to become familiar. You know, we can go into that as well at that point. I'm perfectly fine with whatever way, Dan, you wish to lead this, or Mike at this point.
Well, Mike, have you got anything that you would like to, that you've thought about, been pondering on, that you feel that you've got something there you'd like to add or talk about?
Like, well, there's a hell of a lot that we're talking about, and they're big concepts and they're embedded. I in principle support GPMS and its aims and objectives, but like I'm not fully across the way you guys are seeing things. You know, I want to see the world be a better place, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm just not entirely sure. See, I don't see GPMS as the end all solution to the entire world's problems. You know, I don't. I think it necessary that we bring everybody with us, even those who don't agree with us, and that whatever world eventuates, it makes allowances for people who disagree with us and have a different view from us and want to set things up differently. Because I think that's the nature of what we're talking about. We're talking about a system that empowers sovereign divine individuals to make decisions for themselves. And it's really about bringing everyone with us and finding a system that allows everybody to make these choices for themselves and to fulfill their needs, wants, and desires in the way they want. And to me, it really is about having an argument and a discourse with the wider population, and especially those who disagree with us. because our ideas need to contest and compete in it now. We need to show ourselves as a viable alternative to the terrible, nasty things that are going on at the moment. And how we can do it better, more efficiently, cheaper, and that we can improve people's lives. I don't think it's about just getting a cadre, for instance, like communists and socialists of the old day who are the vanguard of a revolution. No, we need to pick people up and walk hand in hand with our fellow brother and sister and find solutions that are going to make a better life for everybody, whether they agree with me or not. Sorry, I'm a little bit on my soapbox, guys, but like, I want to live in a world that even my enemy and even a person who disagrees with me can find a space where he can live the sort of life he wants, as long as it doesn't harm or infringe others. You know,
and they can, and that's, you know, this is the simplicity of GPMS. What it does, it frees everyone up to that respect. So we all come together with the one common goal to just have the simplified law, which is really the respect and considerations of each other, but also everyone has all the comfort they need. So, you know, who would really, there is no one to disagree with that. It's just bringing the people together for the one common goal. So
well, there's a hell of a lot of people, Rick, there's a hell of a lot of people who disagree with you. Like I can walk down the street and I'm telling you, out of 1,000 people I talk to, 995 are going to have serious arguments with large amounts of what you're talking about, partly because they don't understand the nature of the problems in the world and sort of solution.
Can you name some? And can you name some?
What was that?
Okay, can you name some of the problems they would have with GPMS?
Well, straight out, like most people don't subscribe to the idea that money is a problem in the world. You know, money is a tool. And when it's put to particular purposes and used in particular ways and supported by an institutional framework, it can have nefarious outcomes and aims. But money is simply a tool. It's a medium of exchange. I mean, it can be tweaked in a particular way to do particular things and to ameliorate its harmful effects. I mean, I'm just using that as an example, but the vast majority of people down the street believe money is an absolute necessity and it's a natural, normal part of life. Yeah, like you and I understand. I mean, money for me, like I'm properly economically trained as a lawyer and a political scientist and stuff. Like the problem is that money itself has become a storehouse of value itself, rather than just a medium of exchange. And then when you've got an unequal institutional framework and uninstitutional political arrangements, it allows some people to monopolize the medium of exchange and the notion of value. And that is fundamental to some of the problems, but it's about structural and personal and individual inequality.
But this is also where GPMS is the absolute solution to what you speak. There's no incentive for personal gain, and there is no monopoly in the GPMS. It's an egalitarian world. So, you know,
that's why I like it.
So that's why it's the absolute solution. But, you know, I'm curious with your friends and the people you come into contact with, are they in any form of lack or hardship? Are you speaking with any of them?
To give you an example, I publish to 2.5 million people at least every single day with my writing and published. I talk to my readers every day. I talk to people in Uganda. I talk to people in the US. I talk to people in the UK. I talk to people all over the world. I also was born in India and I grew up in Bangladesh and Pakistan and stuff. And I've seen what it's like on the ground. You know, I know what it's like. I've got a personal experience of lack, you know. I agree wholeheartedly with your basic principles, Rick. You know, a lot of the problems, crime doesn't come from an intrinsic, nasty, negative human nature. It comes from the fact that we have a system of scarcity. Yeah.
Yes.
And that people don't have what they need or desire, or they have to fight tooth and nail to get what they basically need to survive. And a lot of problems in our world can be ameliorated by saying, hang on, here's a universal wage. It's the basics you need to do to survive for a week or a month. Everybody in the world gets the universal wage, and after that, you choose how you want to live your life and how you contribute to your community. And they're already trialing it in some Swiss cantons, believe it or not. They're trawling a 1,000 euro monthly universal wage.
But see what they're doing. This is what I'm speaking about. The actual evil is there. Again, it's not about money. And also with GPMS, what it does, it places the ownership of the entire world's infrastructure, which includes the internet and the financial routing systems, into the hands of the people. And it's very important that we do this. This is why no parallel monetary system or exchange and barter actually worked in the past. It was always suppressed and squeezed out by the actual evil above the governments, of which the governments are the puppets for. So having said this, this is why the people has to take the ownership of the entire infrastructure. And when we get down to technical and lawful terms with that, with every government worldwide, the moment that they registered a child into their economy and recognized them in their economics, GDPs and GNPs or what have you, it doesn't matter. But the moment that they did that, they made every child not only a bona fide shareholder of everything that country owned universally worldwide, because of the worldwide trade and because of every dollar, if you will, in whatever way that person made, but they made them a shareholder. So it's incontestable again. But the real threat is, and I'm going to be blunt, there is the actual evil upon the planet. They are not humane. They'll look like humans, but they're not. And this is also why from prime direct, from prime creators, God, that I am upon the planet as one of the guardians to assure that humanity is taken out of that. And this is all an ingenious, divine, concrete plan to do that. So
I think, I mean, yeah, I think Michael obviously agrees with everything that you're saying.
100% in principle.
It's just the fact that it's the percentage of people, it's the message that we're obviously delivering. Because obviously, another thing is, I'm going to say, obviously, again, we've obviously got the plan outlined, in terms of where, the 3 phases and how we would see things being implemented, which is an evolving plan, as we know, right? It's going to evolve, but ultimately, what ends up happening closer to that point of implementation may be different to what we've envisaged at this stage. I'm sure it will be, but there are going to be, in the meantime, potentially other actors that are coming in with possibly the very best intentions, like this Jordan Peterson, that are maybe going to come up with their own kind of version of what they think is going to be good, which might be different to what we're doing. And so I think that's probably something that you're kind of touching upon there, Michael, in the sense of that you're aware that there's going to be other ideas that are going to be coming in from other groups, and one of the main key points of GPMS is really just to get everybody in alignment to actually doing the right thing for humanity, and by actually recognizing that we are the value, that the value is intrinsic, it's infinite, it's within every human being. That's at the very backbone of basically what GPMS is to get that unity, that alignment with that. Because once you have that, then actually other ideas can come, but really there is no competition with the ultimate vision of GPMS at that point, if everybody had that vision. But it's just actually, the question is how many people and how quickly are people going to come to that alignment, and currently with our message delivery as well. I don't know if that's kind of on par with what you're
perhaps
thinking.
Perhaps, the simple question could be asked of everyone on the street. The simple question is, okay, here's a lifetime lottery. Do you want it or not? And what you're going to see is perhaps 99% of the population will say, yes, I want this lifetime lottery. And that's essentially what it is. So to give it to the people, this is what it is. Who is going to refuse that?
Well, it's the programming that is the challenge, because obviously people are programmed to think that, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. All of these different notions are within the consciousness of
However,
people. Yeah.
but at the same time, I need to interrupt. You look worldwide at how more difficult it's becoming for everyone, and this is the divine orchestration with the huge inflation. One's, being losing their homes. Let's take Canada. With the economy, the interest rates, the Bank of Canada just raised that again. There are ones there that they had floating rates, or whatever, but because of inflation and because their payments going up, they're getting double hit, and they can't afford their homes anymore. And and what you're looking at, this is impacting not just a few. You're looking at great numbers worldwide with us. The U.S. again. I am an ascension teacher that assists divine ones, and I'm in contact also with many around the world. And what I'm seeing is, they're losing everything. They're struggling hard. They're forced to um, just leave the old system. So what I'm saying is everything is orchestrated, that they don't really have a choice. So they're becoming compressed more and more every day. And once they see GPMS again, they're going to accept it. And I don't create problems where there isn't none, and we don't project them into the future. We know we have all of the solutions. So I have to go back to that, because there truly isn't any problems. By projecting and thinking that they don't get it, you're actually energizing that scenario, and you're taking your focus away from the end goal. So we kept it so simple, and whoever is oriented with it, comes. But I do know it's guaranteed, or I would not be doing this. And I know when I say this, it's a hard sell to ones, but as you see, it doesn't prevent me from speaking this truth, because it is. And again, I go back to, I would not even be attempting this if I did not know it was guaranteed. I can assure you, there's a lot better things that I could be doing if it was just about Rick. So we have all the solutions with it.
And I would say that I am speaking, obviously, I have been speaking to people who are like, okay, affluent people. And interestingly, there's a lot more people than you would expect who are even affluent people that are looking around what's going on at the moment. And they, in principle, when I'm talking to them about it, I'm not necessarily given an hour, or more to really kind of go into the full detail of everything and through the website and everything else. But just from giving them an overview of 10, 15 minutes and talking about GPMS, which I can do quite well now, they are agreeing more than they're disagreeing, of course, because the only disagreement they've got is what they don't know about it ultimately. But it's obviously, again, having that is having that time of getting into their consciousness with it and talking with them with it. That they can then actually, it can sit with them and they can take it in. But of course, as more stuff, like you say, is going on around the world, it makes them think more about this. And as more people are actually talking about GPMS and putting that on the table for people, and they can actually learn more about it and understand it more, then that's where obviously you are going to get this, sudden sort of growth, exponential growth, because it will just suddenly happen. The hardest part is the beginning, in getting those numbers up. We know that the power is with the numbers as they grow and the visibility of it. That's where it raises consciousness. That's where people then gain faith, they gain trust, they gain excitement, they gain vision. And so that all comes. But we're at this point now where the numbers are growing. We're seeing that effect already. But actually, when we get to say maybe 200,000 or 500,000 or a million, then the impact is going to be much, much greater, like significantly. And then the exponential growth will occur. But I guess, some people have, would be thinking, well, in terms of the economy, the pressure upon people financially, maybe there's ones that are thinking as well, or concerned, or maybe they're not even thinking this, but ultimately there's a lot of people that might actually end up not being able to afford their internet connection and their broadband, people that have been able to in the West, because I see what they are doing is they're looking at the moment to try and sort of bring us down to the level of Africa, as opposed to bringing Africa up to the West in terms of our financial abundance. so that more of the middle class are going to be, pushed down into the lower classes, and they're going to be on benefits and stuff like that, relying upon the government. That's their kind of strategy, right? So does that mean there's a lot less people that might even not be able to get access to the internet? They may have to give up their mobile phones. Is that part of their plan? Is that so? I mean, I don't want to put too much thought into that, because I believe obviously I'm creating every time I'm thinking about stuff. So do you know what I mean? That's a factor.
Oh, the final thing I guess I wanted to share with you guys is, like, I'm connected with a large group of international creatives and writers and artists, and in fact, some of the best in the world. And we communicate on philosophy and political science issues, and we discuss and have debates and chats and stuff. And one of the things we've been doing a lot lately is playing a thought experiment about what a future new world would look like. And but not just economics itself, but actually mapping out what it exactly would look like, And it's a really interesting exercise when you start doing it. And I've been doing a little bit. And it is really that exercise which has led me to GPMS, because I definitely see the GPMS model as potentially slotting directly in and filling the role of some of the major economic institutions there and ameliorating some of the problems. I really like this idea of individuals and communities raising their own issues and needs and wants, and then finding out how to best solve them in their local area. And then the political stratosphere or the political edifice empowers and facilitates people to do that for themselves. I really like that idea. And so I kind of raise that because that's kind of where I'm coming from at the moment. I probably will write a fair bit of a piece about what the nature of the future world would look like. I mean, I talk to so many people, and widespread you'd get agreement that our world is in trouble, that change is in the offing, that we're not doing things as good as we can do. In fact, we're behind the 8 ball in terms of timeframes and schedules to where we could be, But then when you widen the conversation, it gets messy, arguments. I mean, it's hard enough to get agreement amongst my friends on the nature of the problems, much less the solutions. And that's kind of where I'm sitting. I really see myself a little bit as a mediator or a communicator, and able to sit there in between some of these groups and say, well, you're saying this, you're saying that, we can agree on this, and this is a possibility, and this is a vision. And that's how I think I can add value. I mean, I think it is really important that guys like you and me and Rick